Hey everybody, at home at Old Guy Hifi channel. Hope everyone's doing well today. Today should be a kind of an interesting little video about a really neat little amp from Douk Audio called the A5. Sit back, relax, and we're going to talk about this really neatly laid out, pretty cool device. So what is the Douk Audio A5? Well, it's yet another in a long line of desktop amplifiers, but this one's got some nice features to it. It sells for $90. This does use the Texas Instruments TPA3255 amp chip, and this does have that new PFFB, post filter feedback circuit. We'll talk about it in a second. Now they claim a max power of 300 watts at 2. Now it comes supplied with a 32 volt 5 amp power supply, and with that at 8 ohms, it's legitimately probably 65 watts a channel. They do give it actually a THD of 0.002 and a frequency response of 20 to 20,000. Signal noise ratio 114 dB. It will run 4 to 8 ohm speakers. Really nice. Now, on the front panel, we've got a low-pass filter that runs from 30 hertz to 200. I'm not sure why, other than you can go out the line output to maybe a subwoofer amplifier and then control that here, and then you're actually low-passing the signal in here. Anyway, I don't know. Volume control, rotate on and off, very nicely done. Back panel, nothing extraordinary there. 24 to 48 volt input, banana plugs. This is that line level output that's controlled by the low pass filter, and then of course RCA inputs. Now the party piece for this thing, and I don't know if you can see it, is the top, which actually lifts off and you can swap op amps. So we're going to do that in a second, but first I wanted to talk real quick about this PFFB circuit because I think it's kind of important. It was developed by Texas Instruments, and what it is like I said, it means post filter feedback. So it's a feedback loop that takes the signal from the output of the amplifier after what's called an external LC filter, L for inductor, C for capacitor, and it sends it back to the input to improve overall sound quality. Again, reduce noise, and it also reduces distortion, increases frequency response, and it helps the amplifier deal with the varying loads of speakers. Most speakers, you know, they're 8 ohm, 4 ohm, whatever, but they're only a nominal 8 ohm. So if you measure it with a volt ohm meter, it's going to say 8 ohms or something close to that. But it may go all over the place as it's playing music. So what happens is that impedance changes in the output of the amplifier, and it basically acts kind of like a crossover, and it starts to make the frequency response of the amplifier vary with the impedance that is being presented. So PFFB eliminates that, much cleaner, much smoother sound, and I can vouch for that, and we're going to talk about that in just a second. But give me a moment to reset, and we're going to go ahead and do some op amp swapping and talk about that stuff. Well, here we are on the workbench, and you can see I've got a bunch of op amps. I've got everything from JRC 4972s. I've got TI NE5532Ps. I've got NOS Burr Brown OPA 2604s and NOS Burr Brown OPA 2134s. And I've also got OPA 826s from TI. I've got the SX52Bs, which I bought on AliExpress, which I do like. I've got lots of 1656s. I've got Burson V5 Vivids there. I've got, like I said, Sparkos 3602s, and I got these bad boys, which don't fit, unfortunately. So the fun thing about this amp, and excuse my hand, is you can just get right in it and roll. And as you can see, it's well laid out. Rubicon caps, WEMA capacitors, Elna capacitors there, very nicely laid out. And again, boom, we're swapping op amps. It's that simple. So I've been running it. Let's go through the op amps I ran. Oh, by the way, and I've harped on this before, get yourself a set of the DIP 8 switches. It makes such a big difference. This is, let me see, what have I got here with a DIP 8 on it? So this has got the DIP 8. So the chip rides in this little thing, and these pins are much more durable, much more reliable, and it's much easier to live with, and they're very inexpensive. So anyway, started out with the NE5532s that it comes stock with, and it sounded quite good. Again, I was running it with a 32 volt 5 amp power supply, and I noticed it sounded good and clean. It was, you know, kind of had that normal TI 3255, you know, good drive, good sound quality to it. I was running it, as I mentioned before, into my Philharmonic True Mini monitors, and I was using the Douk Q11 DAC which also has Sparco's 3602 op amps in it. So I was feeding it a very good signal, and it sounded quite good with the stock op amps. Then I rolled in the Burr Brown NOS, the OPA 2134s, which is becoming one of my favorite chips in amps, not DACs, in amps. And that sounded quite good. I did try the TI OPA 1656s, and that was very good. And the nice thing about that is they're relatively inexpensive. You can get them, there's different styles of them. You can get them on AliExpress, not bad. I did run the Bursons. Now, my problem with these Bursons is they're only a single op amp rather than the dual op amp, which most of these are. And so the output level was much lower, so I had to turn it up a little higher, but it did sound okay. I do have some other Burson V7 Vivids and V7 Classics on their way in. I don't know if I'll revisit this particular amp with that. I did put 3602s in it, and it was very good. The problem with the 3602s and something that costs 90 bucks is you're going to spend 90 bucks buying the 3602s. I'm not sure it's worth it. And that's why I kind of settled in on these SX52Bs. They are similar in sound quality to the 3602s, and they work quite well. I also tried these TI, these are the OPA 826s. It's a different op amp, and it worked okay. Most of the standard kind of TI op amps all sounded very similar. 1656s sounded best of all, maybe tied with the OPA 2134s. Maybe those two are tied, because I do like the sound of that chip in an amplifier. But the 3602s was probably the best combination, and then very closely behind it, and I mean, we're splitting hairs. The SX52Bs worked really well, and that's why they're in there right now. So again, take a few moments, go on Amazon, I'll put a link in. There's a little toolkit for pulling IC chips. You want an IC chip puller. Even on this, you want to with the stock ones, because they don't come in the DIP 8 sockets. And then roll to your heart's content. It's a lot of fun. I've had these in there for a while, again, feeding with the Douk Q11, and it sounds really nice. It's got good power. I haven't tried a more powerful power supply because I just didn't feel the need. Again, I'm just using it on my desktop. So I think it's pretty cool what Douk did and set this up so that you can just make it super easy to roll op amps on it. Anyway, so let me put all of this stuff away. We'll talk about how it sounded and everything, and I'll come right back. Well, that was a look at the inside of the Douk Audio A5, and you can see it's really easy to swap op amps. Now, one thing I forgot to mention, and I'll try to insert a picture of it, but right here next to this op amp is a set of 3 dip switches called RGB, red, green, blue, and you can change the color of the internal LED light to a variety of different colors. I have mine in blue because it matches the blue color of the LED in the Douk DAC Q11 unit that I'm using with this. So I've neglected to mention that, and I'm really, really sorry. So I did use it on my desktop. I'm running the Philharmonic True Mini monitors, really nice, running with the Douk DAC Q11, which I really like, but I'm a fan of the AKM side, not so much the ESS side. And how did the little unit perform? It performed really well. I was very taken with it. I thought it did a great job. It sounded nice. It had good power. It drove the Philharmonics very nicely. It was good and crisp and clean with the stock op amps. Now, once I rolled in those 52Bs, those big SX 52Bs that I mentioned earlier, things got a little better. Bass got a little deeper. It was just a smidge more pace to the bass, a little more nuance. Now, the Philharmonics don't go real deep, but the way I have them positioned, they're close to the wall behind them. So I get a little bass reinforcement from the rear port. So it was really satisfactory, and I thought the mid-range smoothed out a bit. This PFB circuit does help the TI 3255 amp chip. It does improve its sonic quality, but it doesn't take away 100% of that kind of chip DAC, chip-based amp kind of glare that sometimes a little mid-range can get a little exciting. But the PFFB has reduced that a tremendous amount. And then with the bigger op amps, that helped a ton too, kind of things just kind of smoothed out. So for music on this one, it's going to be kind of quick, is I used a playlist, my David Arkenstone playlist. There'll be a link to it in the video description. David Arkenstone is a new age artist, multi-instrumentalist. He's been around forever. I've literally been listening to him probably since the late 80s. I really like his music a lot. Yeah, it's kind of new agey, but it's also very Celtic, and it's very cinematic, and it tells stories, and he takes some time. And he's rather a prolific artist. You look him up on Tidal, there's going to be dozens and dozens of albums by him. But The older stuff I find, you know, pre-95, I guess, really rich, really interesting. So one of the songs I use is one of my favorites off of one of his earliest albums called Night Wind from Valley in the Clouds. It's really interesting. That's, again, one of his first albums, maybe his first album. And so, you know, he's doesn't have quite the finesse that he develops later as he gets more experience, but it's really good. It's really interesting. It's got lots of synthesizer sounds in it. It's good bass, good mid-range. Very, very interesting. I think it's wonderful. Now, again, remember, I'm sitting at my desk most of the time. I'm either editing a video, or I'm answering emails or comments from you guys, which I love to get. So it's kind of more background music than anything else. But when I sat down and closely listened, I used this Night Wind track, and it was really good and imaged beautifully. Again, the imaging is created in the studio, but still, it was very nicely done, very, very well done in near field. The next song I used, also from the same David Arkenstone playlist, was called Mask, and it's from the album Return of the Guardians. And again, this is one of those ones that kind of tells stories. He takes, I think, some of his themes maybe from the Hobbit and those kinds of things, you know, kind of sci-fi sort of stuff. He's done lots of soundtrack, or a number of soundtracks for video games. So he can do big, sweeping stuff. He can do really intimate stuff. And I just really like the way his stuff sounds. So Mask, I really liked it. It sounded good and clean, and all the details were there. I felt like I wasn't missing anything. I thought, again, the mid-range was smooth, bass was good, very well represented. And again, this is not super critical listening, but anyway. So the last song I used was Under the Canopy, and this is off an album called Another Star in the Sky. Now, this is kind of, he wrote this, did this album after his mother passed away, so she's the another star in the sky, it's her. And so it's a rather introspective album, very thoughtful stuff. Under the Canopy is really interesting. It's kind of like, makes you feel like you're under the canopy in a rainforest or a forest in and of itself. You can see around it, but you can't really see the sky. It's kind of obscured. Things are not necessarily as clear as you would want them to be, but the music on this one is just beautiful. It's very thoughtful. It's, you know, it could be emotional. I don't find it particularly emotional, but I'm sure for him it was when he was writing it. But it's really, it conveys some good feelings about it. I just thought it sounded really good, and I thought the little Douk Audio A5 did a very nice job with it, no question. For a $90 little desktop amp, and the ability to roll op amps as easy as it is with that top that comes off, this is a compelling little piece. I really like it. I think it's well worth the 90 bucks. I think it is well worth considering. It's nice and small. It'll pair well with the Q11 DAC. It'll pair well with any other small DAC. You know, the SMSL SU1. Add a nice little pair of bookshelf speakers. Really, really good. Now, I must mention, I did drive the ELAC Debut 3.0 DB53 5¼ inch bookshelf speakers with it, and it did a really good job, but there's a review of that coming up soon. I use those more in the big room, but I put them on the desktop for a little while to kind of break them in, and this did a good job driving them. So again, the Douk Audio A5 amplifier, I can recommend it. 90 bucks, I think it's a good piece. You know, you can get some real inexpensive op amps on AliExpress, on eBay. Roll them, try them, have fun with it. I just think it's a ball, and it did improve the sound quality, no question. So anyway, hopefully you enjoyed this video. Hopefully you'd be willing to give me a like and a subscribe. About 60% of you that are watching aren't subscribed, and if you would, it does help the channel grow, and it does help helps me get manufacturers to send me gear so we can do some fun stuff together. And guys, I got some really cool stuff here. I've got some really cool stuff coming. It'll be a lot of fun. Yes, we're going to do some fun-fi stuff. Yes, I'm going to do some very expensive stuff too. So anyway, I want to try to keep that mix going. So please like, subscribe. There will be an affiliate link to this particular product in Amazon. It'll be in the pinned comment and in the video description. There'll be a membership link in the pinned comment in the video description. If you wish to support the channel, you can buy me a granola bar. There is a thank you button at the bottom of the video window if you're watching on your portable device or computer. Comment, let me know, where are you at? Are you swapping op amps right now? I'm talking about op amps for an amp. Now, I find that on DACs, it's a little bit different. On the DAC Q11 from Douk, I have 3602s in it because I think that had a better sound quality. I don't think the 3602s had as big an impact on this as going from the stock op amps to the 52Bs, those SX 52Bs that I get. I thought that was really good. And those are not expensive. They're 12, 14 bucks or something a piece, I think. Anyway, so let me know where you're at op amp rolling. What do you think about it? All that fun stuff. I think that's everything I need to say about the Douk A7. So please like, subscribe, comment. If you want to, you can follow me on Instagram. That's everything. My name's Ed Homewood. This is the Old Guy Hi-Fi channel, and it's now your obligation to yourself to put on some really nice music in the background while you're working and make it more relaxing and enjoy the balance of your day. I thank you so much for your time. I am grateful for it. I hope you have a wonderful day.